He joins us now by Skype. David, thank you for joining us. I know there's 1.3 billion people, and they have right now relatively few cases of COVID-19, but you're in favor of this lockdown. Tell us why.
That's right. So they have less than 1,000 cases so far. So it sounds extreme to put 1.3 billion people in shelter in place. But India is not well poised to confront this crisis. If you look back at the 1918 Spanish flu, India was impacted worse than any other country in the world. 16 to 17 million people estimated died in India from that. And some of the reasons why that happened and why it was so bad in India are still true today in India. India has less hospitals and hospital beds per person than most of the other countries that are facing the coronavirus crisis. Same with less doctors per person, per capita, than many of the other countries that are facing it. Of course, some of the big cities in India, like Mumbai, are very crowded, and are not very sanitary, which can also result in the spread of the virus. And also, more people have tuberculosis and lung problems in India than in most countries because of the air pollution in part.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting, David. I know that there's not a very robust healthcare system in India, and I think that's apparent when you look at some of these pictures and you see the numbers coming out of there. But do you worry? We talk about the economy in this country, and a huge portion of the Indian population is destitute for all intents and purposes. I want you to listen to a daily wage worker, and then I'll get your opinion on the other side. Watch this.
We rely on our daily wages for food. If there is no work here, then what will we eat and where will we stay? How will we be able to afford food or water here? So staying here is the bigger problem for us.
And the same way, David, we talk about the fact there's not a robust healthcare system. There's not a robust social services system in India either to take care of young boys like that and others who badly need to work every day.
That's absolutely right. And that's a major concern, too. Not only a lot of the population is living under the poverty line, but also the population will be impacted because much of the economy is sort of in an informal economy. So it's going to be completely devastated by this stand down, by people staying inside, by people not being able to go to work. But the alternatives are worse. And of course, that's what Prime Minister Modi decided when he ordered this 3-week shelter in place for India. And I think we have to look over the horizon. Here in the U.S., it may seem strange to be talking about a place like India while we're still struggling with this crisis. But in the future, we're going to have to help countries like India, our allies, deal with it. Because if they have a massive outbreak, it's going to whip right back around to us even after we solve it. So we got to solve it here, but we got to think about how it's impacting other countries in the future, because otherwise it's going to whip back to us.
And I know, David, that the world kind of always looks to the United States for help in these types of crises and situations. But right now, we're really in no position to help. And I think India needs help right now. Where do they get that help?
Well, most of the U.S. response and Congress and the administration has been focused on the U.S. appropriately. But if you look at the bill that Congress passed, for $800 billion. Some of that is actually going to the State Department and could be used for global health programs, such as programs that could be administered in India. Also, there's $100 million that USAID has right now that it can spend in countries where USAID is already located to help those countries face down this crisis.
Yeah, well, they are among the most gracious and hardworking people on the planet. Our best to them. David, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Trace.